Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I hope I am audible to everyone.
Yes. Now,
Yes.
yes.
Okay. Was I audible when I was speaking about PMO India Awards journey?
Yes, you are Isha.
All right. Okay. So moving forward and setting the context right for the panel discussion with PMO India Award finalists, let me just share the screen and speak a little bit about our finalist here, and then we'll move forward with the panel discussion. Is the screen visible? I hope the screen is visible to everyone.
Yes.
All right. Moving into the meet and greet for our panelist. First is N. Nakiran. He has been in the category of PMO Leader of the Year and one of the finalists of PMOJ India Awards. He is mastered in solving complex problems, and as per the discussions that I had with him recently, he is a medalist, gold medalist, and intellect, and full of awards and accolades. He works into the portfolio of he manages the portfolio and program and project, specializes in program management of many diversified project in his company. He works in a global Fortune 50 organization, and his forte is to deliver operational excellence without complex ways of working by using collaborative method. Next is our very warm and beautiful panelist, which is Cecilia De Silva. And as you can see her, she was the PMO India Awards finalist for PMO of the Year 2021. She works in Kinara Capital as a vice president of PMO. An articulate communicator, she is a seasoned leader with wide range of cross-functional management experience for over 2 decades now. She has demonstrated accomplishment of implemented risk management, internal control and governance framework and process improvement activities in her organization, and she continues to do so when she forms her team. Welcome on board, Cecilia, and we are happy to have you here in today's discussion.
Thank you, Isha.
Moving on, last but not the least, we have Sandeep Paddasari. He was also one of the finalists of PMO of the Year 2021. He is a global director, PMO and portfolio management in Philips Healthcare Innovation Center. His motto is to building high performance and challenging teams. He is highly accomplished and strategically oriented professional with incomparable skills in leadership and management. A well-honed leader and team player armed with strong business acumen, including strategic vision, customer relations, lean manufacturing, and project management are his forte. We can always reach them and contact Cecilia and Sandeep on their LinkedIn profiles. So this was about the meeting our panelists. I will now start and welcome them in the discussion of today's panel discussion. Now, today's panel discussion is about to hear about their journey, what brought them here, and what got into PMO GA India Award, what got them into PMO GA India Awards, their journey till now, and what are their plans for the future. So I'll start with N. Nakiran on screen. I can see you now, and happy to see you, Nakiran, finally.
Thanks, Isha. I think there were some technical issues again. I joined in.
Yes. So my question, so the first flow, the question was, how have you created impact in your respective roles in your organization till now? From project management office to virtual value-added management office, or from a cost center to adding up value management and value-driven sustainability in your organization. What has led you to this role till now?
All right. So thanks, Isha, for this question. So, okay. So, I think I can talk in a couple of points. So, I have been involved in multiple activities, right, that added value and created a lot of benefit. One such initiative which I'm proud of is rolling out a world-class PMO as a service from the scratch. I built it in the current organization and ramped up the team to almost 50 in 18 months. Right, that's one value-added thing that I have done. And again, I have also set up the first P3O office for a $40 million portfolio in the current organization. And again, few more value-added activities like creation of a knowledge management portal for the entire department, right? And automating the finance tracker, creating a lot of RPAs for reducing the manual activities, created, say, learning path for the entire PMOs and resource managers. And I mean, been involved in a lot of single supplier initiatives and too many other initiatives which have added a lot of value to the current organization. In fact, in the last 3 years, I have been involved into multiple CA initiatives which have delivered $1 million in L2 benefit. So these are some of the initiatives that I have been proud of.
Great. Thank you, Nakiran, for sharing the insights. Moving on to Cecilia, the same question is for you.
Thank you, Isha. In fact, it's been an interesting journey at Kinara Capital. We've had a very clear line of sight, starting from, 2016, when it was just an inside project office. Probably at that point in time, maybe few of us, few of the people in the organization were hearing the word PMO for the first time. So starting from there, we have progressed. We launched the basic PMO team in the year 2017. Then we went on to become the standard PMO. Then we became the advanced PMO, and then we went on to become the center of expertise. What has worked for us is, I would like to compare it to something like a building, right? If you have to reach to the top of the building, it's important that you start from the foundation. So our focus was to see as to what we need to focus on and where we need to focus. It was very clearly the people, the process, the system, the technology, and PMO culture as a whole, right? So starting from there, we started building the PMO culture. We started creating awareness, sharing best practices, creating that knowledge, and giving those KT sessions to people to actually create the awareness, first of all, because if you have to be successful in a project, it's important that every stakeholder, every person is on same page and we're speaking the same language. And once you've made sure that everybody is on board in terms of what PMO is, then we thought of the tools and techniques. What is a project management software that we need to have? Otherwise, we were used to kind of, either it is an email or Excel or Google Sheet. It was time for us to move on to a proper, organized way of managing projects, which is the project management software. So from there, we moved on to, change management techniques as to what we need to have, the system that we need to have, because I think all of us can relate to the priorities that keep coming up, right? Somebody says this is key to me and this is priority for me, this is P0 for me, and things like that. So it's important for us to know how to prioritize, and how to come up with the design, how to move on with that change. So it's important that we don't, pull in different directions and we are on the same page. Starting from that, today we are, as a team, we are aligned to the business strategy. We know what needs to come first, what needs to come next. And I think that has taken us as a team, as Kinara Capital, to the center of expertise.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Cecilia. We'll now move on to Sandeep. Sandeep, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, first of all, good evening, participants, and thanks, Isha, for organizing this panel discussion, and thanks to PMO Global Alliance team as well, for having this interactive sessions. To me, I don't know how many of you are aware that, Philips as a company is now moving more into healthcare segment. Probably many of you might be aware about the Philips bulbs or Philips TVs, which is widely recognized. But of late, we have been moving purely into the healthcare segment. Now, why that is important is, being in a healthcare segment, the products that we manufacture needs to be customer friendly and which should meet the highest quality standards, because it's touching the human patients, and it's important that, we don't have any quality issues in that system. So that sets the stage for us as a PMO in, what quality product you're delivering to the customer. So talking about me, I joined the head of PMO in Philips in setting up this PMO organization for mobile surgery business. And I'm in Pune for last 4 years. The kind of work what we do, it's actually in a way the the features what we provide is at the end of the day, some customer is going to get benefited out of it. Now, realizing this importance of this product, it's important that the stakeholders whom we manage in developing is important. So that sets the stage for developing a high performance team who understands the customer needs, translates the customer's needs into a schedule, and making sure the schedules are met. Now, these are the basics what we call of project management, but there is beyond basics what we call as personal touch. We all can correlate to the tools, techniques, the different standards what we process, but at the end of the day, unless we perform as one team, one goal, and in achieving it, and be flexible and trying to adapt to the real life situations, because change is something inevitable. It's a part and parcel of life. You can't decide a program which is designed for say 3 years time frame. Nothing will change in between. It will change, and the economy is changing, our needs are changing, so is the program. How soon we are flexible to adapt, and how much disruptions we can manage within the team in a way which doesn't impact the overall program is our efficiency. And that's what we try to deliver in our teams. So over the last 4 years, we have been successful in delivering many programs. What is more important, more than the delivering programs, is what is the team you create, how much strength you are building onto your team. It's all about, like Cecilia told, right, building the foundation is important. Now, talking about that foundation, it talks about 4 elements. It talks about, the same case applies for us. It's all about investing in the people, investing in I call it 4 Ps in that language. It's about investing in people, investing in the process, investing in the plan, and finally measuring the performance of it. That's how we build a high performance team and making sure we deliver these products on time. Interesting journey. I think every day we have real life challenges, but that's what we are in to resolve it and keep moving.
So thank you so much, Sandeep, for sharing the insights. So when I hear from all these 3 insights from the diversified industries that you 3 are working into, let us now talk about the challenges that we face. What are the 2 top challenges as a leader you face in a PMO role in your respective organizations? Sandeep, yeah.
I can go first in this.
Yes.
See, the challenges what we face in this role is, one is about the people attrition. Having invested in people for long, and sometimes when people leave the current role, it's difficult for a new person to come onboarded, especially with this experience and get wrapped up. But that's life. We need to work on. More than that, it's the change management that we need to go through in this program management. At least for us being in healthcare segment, regulatory standards are becoming more and more stringent, and the stringent serves for good reasons. As a consumer, as a user of a equipment, I'm more protected in becoming better. But as a product development company, we need to get adapted to those change. So the kind of testing what we need to do to prove those systems works with those features is a time consuming activity. While there is an element of change what is needed, but there is also an element of pressure what is needed to release it faster. So it's a fine balance between adapting to the changes as well as delivering on time, and it's a real life challenge. We need to keep moving with whatever change management techniques we need to adapt. That keeps us busy. But those are the 2 big challenges I would perceive. Of course, there are many more, but at this time, it's about this.
Okay.
Yeah, I can maybe go next. That's a very good question, Isha. So I can maybe talk from the IT industry perspective, right? One of the major challenges, it alludes to what Sandeep has just said. There's a huge amount of global labor shortages, right? After in the last couple of years specifically, and you would also be hearing the word like great resignation, etc. Right? These are all shaking up the workplace. Typically, the IT industry, when we are moving more towards digitalization, right? So you need to find innovative ways to address it. And in fact, this is one of the area where I'm heavily focusing for the last few quarters in getting the right skilled resources on time. Right? That's one challenge. And second, when I have set up the P3O office, right, for the major portfolio, typically most of the team members are accustomed to project management office based working, right? They would not be having good knowledge and expertise in the enterprise portfolio management office. So while I was setting up the portfolio management office, obviously I had faced a lot of challenges, right, in terms of getting the right folks with the right mindset, training them, upskilling them, etc. But now, obviously, I have overcome it. But that's one challenge which I have faced recently. Maybe I can also talk about a third aspect that's very specific to some of the large, IT organizations, specifically from a global MNC that is coming in. Right now that most of the organizations are focusing on digital transformation, as I just said. Right, you have a limited set of workforce. Right, so there are a lot of legacy systems, IT legacy systems that are in place, and the organizations are trying to move away the IT legacy systems to suppliers, contractors, etc. Right, and then have these folks upskill and then move into the latest technology. That way, you focus on the core competency and focus more on the digitalization. At least in the last 1 or 2 years, I feel like you need definitely to have a very strong knowledge, right, in terms of partnering with vendors, working with IT suppliers, right? How do you basically work closely with the IT project managers of the supplier that you are shortlisting, etc. I know, this will evolve much in the future. Right, PMOs will start playing a major role into this, but as of now, a lot of PMOs do not have the required expertise. Right, that's the challenge that I have faced it, but obviously I have overcome it. But this is something which we may face in the next 1 or 2 years, is what I feel.
All right, all right. I
Yeah,
think
I can go next.
yeah, Cecilia.
Yeah, I just want to add on to what Karthik and what Nakiran and Sandeep just mentioned. I
Hmm.
think people come, people go, but the show must go on. Okay, that's the name of the game at the end of the day, right? So I think it's important. I mean, the challenge that we keep facing is, how to ensure that every individual wears a PMO hat, and how we put ourselves in their shoes and vice versa. I think that is somewhere we've been able to manage the show. And coming next is how you shift gears and when to apply brakes and when to accelerate. I think this is something that you need to continuously do. It's not that I will shift and pause, I will apply brakes and pause, I will accelerate and pause. I think these are the key challenges that we face, but I think we know how to manage it as well.
Hmm.
Thank you.
All right. So, listening to all the challenges and speaking about the attritions and how to add value and looking at the futuristic approach, do you see that if we overcome these challenges, would it be possible to analyze the state of PMO in India as we are today, or moving on to Visibis where we will be after 2-3 years? What is your take on that?
So if I were to put it differently, I think rather I would put it as what is the future of PMO in future. I would try to answer in that way. See, today's world is disruptive. When I say disruptive, what worked well for me in last 2-3 years is not going to work for next 3 years. It has to be dynamically adaptive. I will talk again from the angles of people's skills. Today's people skills were measured against, the PMO core strength, which is all about your how good you are on schedule, how good you manage finance, how good you manage cost. I think that's history. It's not going to work on it. What we have adapted in Philips is something called EPM, which is called Entrepreneurial Project Management. It talks about the 10 elements beyond the core skills. While I wouldn't say that the core skills will vanish, what's important is those are not enough for us to sustain for future. Every project manager, needs to have the 10 elements of entrepreneurial skills, which starts with business acumen, understanding the customer, managing the stakeholders. When I say managing the stakeholders, it's not about the professional world of, the PMO, but it's about, how well you understand those people. What are those needs? Are you able to understand the expectations from different stakeholders? So there are 10 elements to it, which actually are quite essential to survive into this future. And likewise is the tools. Time is going to be the critical key. Nobody is going to wait for time. If you're going to say to a customer that, I'm going to deliver a product in 5 years, the customer will say, well, I have another customer who's going to deliver in 1 year. So it's going to be the agile. That's the way how we need to be flexible in understanding the customer's needs. Because the product which I can also give you some history behind it. If I were to compare the digital disruptive world, where today's mobile phones are changing quite fast. Every 6 months, you'll see a new technique, new mobile version. And if I'm in an era of having a mobile phone released 3 years, by the time I come with the released version of a competitor, the competitor would have moved 2 steps ahead. That's how today's world is. So we have to be ahead of future if you really want to survive. The crux is there is a concept which comes in, but there is an execution team, which is the project management team. That's where the skill comes in becoming how fast you're agile to adapt to the standards.
Yeah. So Sandeep, thank you so much for your inputs. This again led me to prompt here that this is for Nakiran and Cecilia, that how much is the current acceptability rate of PMO in global versus India? How do you see our placement in as we are accepted in India, or how are they globally accepted? The PMO role or PMO function, as we talk about.
I think I can just place it probably, on a percentage of, the way I see it. I can look at it like 25 to 30% India versus global. And I think we need to gain momentum very quickly. And already I see that, PMO function is becoming a core function in many organizations, because in a fast-paced world where we see, technology and digitization are changing by the minute, it's very important and crucial, and it would be prudent for the PMOs to understand this new world, the technology and the digitization and how we are moving faster. And it's also important for the organization to embrace this and make PMO as their core function integral part of their overall system. Otherwise, it would become like a human system that you're expecting to work without a heart or a brain. At the end of the day, it might come not work, not move forward. So I would say that that is where we need to see PMO go from here.
All right. Nakiran, your thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, my thoughts are slightly different. I mean, obviously, it varies from industry to industry. And I can maybe talk more from an IT industry perspective. Right, the acceptability rate, I would say it's almost on par, right, with the global organizations. Specifically, right, in any IT service organization or product organization or captive setups, right, they all have a PMO as a separate department these days. So I would say, I mean, the PMO in IT industry has evolved over the last couple of decades. And at this point of time, I would say, though I won't say it is, above the global average, but I would say at least it's on par with most of the larger countries like US, etc.
All right. So, till now, thank you so very much. I am overwhelmed with the experience and the insights that I've received in this session. Before we move on to question and answers, I have one last question for the audience that I have, the beautiful audience, which I cannot hear for now. Thank you for such a beautiful platform that we are working on today. But yes, it is a live session. So I'll now request my panelists to share some insights and share some set of advice for all the PMOs and PMO professionals who are hearing us now on this call, who are there on this call and looking and taking your experience speak in this session. So we'll start with Cecilia.
Yeah, sure. I would say, keep it simple, keep it basic. I would say open your eyes to see the business goals, strategic goals. Open your ears to listen to the stakeholders, your end users, customers, and open your minds to embrace change. Time and tide don't wait for anybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cecilia. Sandeep?
Yeah, so I agree with Cecilia's concept. We have to be very open to changes. At the same time, the crux is going to lie between efficiency versus effectiveness. I think the measure is going to be on that, especially in this dynamic, volatile, disruptive world. How much you are able to produce your output in your given time determines your efficiency, and how well you do it determines the effectiveness. If you're able to balance both and try to get a striking balance, I think you will be on top. That's going to be the number one parameter. Second is how flexible you are to adapt change in your work life, and respond to the customer needs will be the next way to adapt it.
Sure. Very insightful, Sandeep. Thank you. Nakiran?
Yeah, maybe I can touch a couple of points on how the future will look like, right? At least specifically for the IT industry, and then I can also throw some advice. Considering how the future is shaping up, right? One, in terms of how the FOW, FOW is basically the future of work. It becomes more projectized, right? The project-based skills are essential. I mean, in any organization to turn the ideas into the actual reality versus execution, right? We call it as project economy. So. That's about the project economy, and obviously now digital transformation is sort of shaping up, and now most of the organizations started to focus more on the benefit management, right? So in the past, the statistics say that 70% of the projects fail, etc. So now organizations are starting to focus more from the benefits, and even the benefits are also getting included in most of the KPIs, right? So considering that, there is a good future ahead. Maybe my advice would be, again, looking more from the statistics from the CEBR, even from the CEBR, it states that by 2030, right, India will be the third largest GDP in the world. As of now, it's 6. We moved into 5 a couple of years back, and again we are in 6 now. But so from approximately a $3 trillion economy, right? The CEBR states that we would be getting into a $8.4 trillion economy, right? So consider that with the project economy. So most of the project managers, PMOs, etc., right? I definitely feel that PMOs would flourish at least in the next 2 to 3 years, specifically in H2 22, right? The markets will start opening up, and you will see a huge opening up of economy. It already started, but I still feel that H2 is when the economy will pick up, and then when a lot of projects and a lot of organization will open up their purse, right, towards more of a digital spending, etc. The scope of PMOs, etc., would improve a lot, right? So my advice would be, that is to encourage the PMOs to start utilizing this boom period, right, and create value to the organization. That's maybe one advice. And second, when you look at the trend, right, if you follow most of the new IT things that are shaping up, AI is something which is picking up, right? When I talked about 70% of the current projects fail, etc., AI is that looks at the past trends, right? You can now use AI. A lot of tools are available in the market where the AI tool will predict the probability of success even before a project gets executed, right? And the AI tools also can analyze a user story and then say whether the user story is good or not. AI can also be used for tracking the risk. So, basically, when you combine AI, which uses predictive, expert systems, neural networks, etc., most of the PMOs would start utilizing these tools, right? So, I would definitely encourage the PMOs to keep their mind open, right? Be flexible in learning some of the new technologies, because they would be the change agents. They would be working very closely with the change managers, etc., in the next 2 to 3 years. I definitely feel, the continuous learning has to be there for the PMOs, and that's how the PMOGA community also comes into picture, right? So when you have a good network, you can cross-share your knowledge, you can exchange your best practices, etc. And obviously, it will help not just the PMOs. Obviously, it will also add value to the organization where you guys are serving. So that
I agree. So thank you so very much. I'm overwhelmed, and 2 things I got from you, Nakiran, is network is net worth, and hashtag project economy has arrived.
Yes.
So this is a kind of overwhelming response I personally am getting from this insightful session. We are left with 49 seconds for this panel discussion to end, and we'll start with question and answer next. But I'll like to invite Gaurang Vora now, who can help us and give us more insights and help us give some questions that we gain some insights from the people who have joined us. I'm inviting him on stage, and I'll invite him on stage again in next 25 seconds. Hey, Gaurang.
All right. Hey, Isha. All right. Am I audible? Am I
Yes,
visible?
you are visible. You are audible.
All right. Perfect. I believe this is a great session. I'm sure the audience have got a very different perspective because.
Let me just start the session again, Gaurav.